Good morning, happy economics students. Even though it's the middle of the night, because that's the only time I can really make these videos, we're going to run a quick little thing on the market structure unit, just talking about the two extreme market structures, perfect competition versus monopoly. Again, this unit's going to be really tough to explain without having people in class, but we'll just try to keep it simple, and this video has to be quick. We did the matrix in class the very last day we were there, stating that market structure analyzes these four characteristics. So let's try to make some sense of these in more specific detail. The perfect competition market structure is the most cheap, high supply products we possibly have in the marketplace. Let's go to the next slide actually. This is where you have the most buyers and the most sellers selling the cheapest possible, simplest possible goods you could possibly spend your money on. We're talking like the 5-cent pieces of chewing gum where you don't care what brand it is or even what flavor it is. We're talking things like farm products. The rice of the world is basically the rice of the world. No farmer can say his rice is better than somebody else's rice. There's no brands of rice. Rice is just bought up. It's sold at the price whatever rice is taking for a season and turned into rice products. Corn, so much corn is bought around here. The companies that make feed out of corn or out of soybeans for dog food. You can't be a farmer and go to these companies and say, well, my corn is better or my soybeans are better than all these other farmers. There may be some slight quality difference or yield per acre difference, but the company is just going to pay the price per bushel whatever corn or soybeans are going for, and the seller really has no way to advertise or compete or say that his product is better. This is the easiest market structure to get in and out of. Anybody with a piece of land can declare themselves a farmer. It doesn't necessarily require any special licensing. It does take a lot of money to start up the equipment. Maybe a better example for that is anybody can declare themselves in the lawn mowing business. Anybody with a push mower can drag it around a neighborhood in the summertime and just go from house to house declaring, hey, I'll push mow your lawn for $25. Requires no licensing, requires no specialized skills, doesn't take a huge amount of knowledge. You don't have to go to a technical school, you don't have to go to college, you don't have to really even apply to the city to allow them, for them to allow you to go around and cut grass. And you're totally at the mercy of what people are willing to pay you. You're making your pitch for 25 bucks a lawn, somebody else walks up and says, well, I'll do it for 20 bucks a lawn. There's really not much quality difference in lawn mowing, and so the buyer is just able to pick whichever they want based on price. These also tend to be things that are very simple to understand. People understand lawn mowing. They understand what they expect out of a person mowing their grass. Everybody's an expert on their own lawn. This will make more sense when we talk about the opposite side of this monopoly where things are far more complex. So this is just easy products, cheap products. Everybody's an expert. Everybody walking into the grocery store is an expert on oranges. They touch the oranges, they squeeze the oranges, they decide which orange is the best, and they fill their bag full of the oranges they and their expertise think are the best. Oranges are just a product from a tree. There's no particular brand names where somebody could argue they're better than the other, like Ford versus Chevy draws immense loyalty. So, what this means in the end is these people are price takers. They just have to accept whatever equilibrium price is. They have no control over the price whatsoever, which is in huge contrast to the other extreme of monopoly. And I think everybody knows with monopoly there's one seller in the marketplace. It's the least number of firms. It's usually things that are the most inelastic. It's something you just have to have. Electric companies usually exist in a monopoly. St. Genevieve has Citizens Electric. They are a government licensed monopoly. It's the only place you can buy your electricity from. Fewest firms, most barriers. So we can talk about the specifics in the presentation here. You can always follow along in these presentations. Um, Lease sellers are the most barriers to entry. These, whatever they're selling is usually unique with very, very few substitutes. We should use that word practical again. There are substitutes for electricity. You can hook a donkey to a wheel and generate your own electricity, but it's not practical. Feeding the donkey will cost you more than whatever the monopoly actually sells the electricity for. These are products where the buyers are least informed. A substitute for the local coal power plant would be a nuclear power plant. You could set up your own nuclear power plant in your backyard if you knew how to split an atom. This is a very complex skill that very few people in the world understand. There's countries in the world still struggling to catch up with what we learned how to do in 1945, which is split the atom and release that energy. It's incredibly complex stuff. You are going to have to go to college, I would imagine, learn how to deal with nuclear fission. You're going to have a brain like Einstein. So most people are the least informed when it comes to monopoly items. It's a very difficult market structure to get in and out of. You don't just jump into the electricity business and jump out whenever you want like you could with lawn mowing. And a specific term here is economy of scale. I try to talk to that in class a little bit. It's where a market is just so expensive to enter, it's virtually impossible to compete with that marketplace. For instance, to build a power plant would cost tens of millions of dollars, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. Then you'd have to run the cable all over the county to supply electricity. You would need maintenance men who draw high wages because they're skilled. You would need the trucks for the maintenance men to work. It would just be impossible to save up enough money and say, I'm going into the electric business. Just not going to happen. Another one comparable might be Microsoft a few years back when it came to computer products. You could, and people have indeed actually made better operating systems than Windows, but it's so complicated and so expensive to do, then you have to compete with the name brand of Microsoft. So only companies like Apple and Google have had the money to create a competing product and actually compete with Microsoft. Another one could be Walmart. Walmart's the biggest corporation in the world. Not exactly a monopoly, but the biggest corporation in the world. It would take an immense amount of money to compete with Walmart with the advertising, the inventory, and just building the sheer number of stores, about 4,000 stores worldwide. It would be very difficult to break into that market. Other types of monopoly evolved because of these three things. Sometimes there is a natural monopoly. At one time, the only source of helium in the world was from Texas. So that company had a natural monopoly on helium. A similar thing might be De Beers Diamonds. They have controlled all the diamond mines in Africa for so long, they control the supply of diamonds. Diamonds aren't as rare as we would like to think, but that company got control of the area where diamonds are supplied, and so they have a natural monopoly over diamonds. A government monopoly. This is what we're talking about with power plants. Sometimes the government only allows one firm. They only let you buy water, electricity, and at one time telephone service from just one company. When it was wires going across the country, you only wanted one set of wires for electricity across the entire county. At one time telephones were on wires, and so you didn't want competing telephone companies. When all that went wireless, well, now we have competing telephone companies. The government does not allow a telephone monopoly anymore. Water, I don't think you'd want 5 sets of water pipes crisscrossing under the roads throughout the county, where every time one breaks, they have to dig up the road to fix it. Another type of monopoly that's a little more popular, the technology monopolies. When you patent something, when you invent something new, that's the government allowing you to just produce that for an amount of time where you just get all the money for it. So, the big question is, are monopolies bad? Essentially, if there's only one firm selling a product, that would make them a price maker. They should be able to charge whatever they want for that product. That is the general perception of monopolies, but the truth is it's not really true. They can raise prices, but only to a certain point because of a concept called creative destruction. Many economists actually argue monopolies are good. They became a monopoly because they destroyed every one of their competitors, which means their product must be Good. This is how Microsoft got huge. This is how Walmart got huge. They wiped out their competition because their product or their service was simply better than everybody else. So the way to destroy that, the way to prevent them from raising their prices beyond control, is creative destruction. Somebody else has to come up with something creative that destroys the monopoly. Many areas are in this process right now. Microsoft controlled about 90-95% of computer operating systems in the 1990s. Apple made a comeback, and some people prefer the Apple operating system and have created a competitor for Microsoft. Google, entering the Android business, has also started competing with Microsoft. They came up with better competitive ideas. Um, a great example of this is as Walmart became the biggest corporation in the world and everybody was just beholden to the Walmart store, Amazon creatively starts competing with the whole ship to your house shopping. And they've just revolutionized the marketplace, and they've got that down to 1 or 2 days delivery. Walmart has responded by having grocery pickup and 1 or 2 day delivery for fear of being destroyed by Amazon. And so monopoly is not just out of control price making, they can only do it to the point of somebody will not invent a practical substitute. If the electric company truly blew prices out of the water, we would get serious about wind power or solar power. Okay, that is very quick. It is very much a crash course, but the shorter these go, the faster they upload to the world through the YouTube. You should find this on the website, and you should be able to make comments. And let's say bonus points if you can name the economic song and play here.